Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Joy Life Center Coaching and Consulting. It's me, your life coach, Andrea Jackson. I'm just so glad that you are here by subscription. So many times our schedule don't meet our desires. So thank God you subscribe to our channel. You can join us in our group today. We're going to be breaking down these disorders, these compulsive behaviors, and get a better definition on how they work in us and for us or against us. Well, anyway, we're going to start admitting some people into the group. So hold on. Good morning, ladies. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Miss Susu. Who else do we have on the line?
Good morning, Sister Lupe here. How
Good
are you? Good
morning.
morning to all.
Good morning, Sister Lupe. Good morning, you guys. As others will be chiming in, we're going to go ahead and jump right on in. We're going to kind of break down and take a look at these disorders that people talk about when they talk about neuro and psychological disorders, that they use words they use to describe our compulsive conditions or unhealthy behaviors. We're going to see even how they relate to substance abuse and how the impact of the brain and carries out that change or that rewiring of the brain, the things we do, the things that we do repeatedly, the activities that we participate in, the substances that we take, and how that affects us. So before we get right on in, I just want to check in with you guys, see how you're doing, where you're at this morning, while we're allowing others to chime in this morning. So I think Sister Lupe was our first caller this morning. So Sister Lupe, good morning. Go ahead and check in.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm having a great day today. I just came back from the gym, so
Wow.
I'm feeling good, and yeah,
Excellent.
I'm feeling motivated.
Hey, you sound motivated. That's excellent. Wow, what you do when you go to the gym?
I just kind of mostly focus on cardio.
Okay.
So like the treadmill, and then I ran today for like 20 minutes, and then I did the um when you I forgot what it's called, but when you put the treadmill on hiking mode,
Okay.
so it elevates. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, that's a tough one, and just going back and forth and just trying to clear my mind, and um just some of those endorphins to just take effect in my brain.
Yes. Oh my God. I love that. And isn't that wonderful? I like how Sister Lupe is using her own health as she know it, her own internal functioning to help her feel better. I love that. Sometimes we use external things to help us feel better. As we try drugs, alcohol, we try doing something for someone else, we try doing operating in our compulsive behaviors or our unhealthy behaviors. But I love that she found how to touch and motivate our natural chemistry that God has blessed her with to change her mood. So without outside of looking, instead of looking out, she looked within. I love that. Thank you, Sister Lupe. Miss Susu, good morning. Go ahead and check in.
Good morning. Good morning, Miss Jackson, and to all that is on the line. I feel good. I
Hey.
too, I too did my exercise regimen. Yep, and
Wow.
I feel
Everyone's exercising.
yeah, I walked, I did a couple of laps around the cul-de-sac. So and I get home, I find that my electric is off. They're working outside there on the back street.
Whoa.
But so I'm sitting outside in the car and just gonna enjoy the day.
Yes. Wow, amazing. Oh, we have some energetic, motivated people on the line this morning so far. Awesome. More exercising. I love this. Let me see. Let's see. Miss Jenny. Good morning, Miss Jenny. Go ahead and check in.
Good morning, Miss Jackson and everyone else. I'm feeling good. Got up early this morning. Uh, my car was in the shop. I was able to get it out, battery out, and now uh, my husband and my son, they're gone to. 'Cause my son is taking a driving test, so I'm praying that he passes.
Yes.
Um, I, s- I'm feeling good today. I'm feeling better. I was kind of down a little bit yesterday,
Mhm.
kind of physically, but and so much medication I have to take. But I feel that my body is getting a little better. I'm, trying to walk a little more and use I got a better grip in my hand because, my arm has been weak. So it feels better.
Good.
My walking is a little better. I have a limp and cause my left leg is weak,
Mhm.
but that's getting, I'm getting better. It's, but I was kind of, last night I was thinking that, you know, I was like, I'm kind of trying to push it, but it's
Okay.
like, it's not progressing as fast as I want. And I'm like, and then I've been having a couple of accidents. I drop this, drop that. Because sometimes I forget that my right arm is not functioning like it used to. So
Okay.
I forget, and oh my goodness, almost dropping things and burnt myself yesterday.
Oh no.
Yeah, because sometimes I forget that it doesn't work. Like forget.
As as it
Like,
used to.
oh yeah, I forgot about that. My arm not.
Yeah.
But today I do start therapy. I'm excited for that.
Yay.
And I was hearing all the exercising things, and I said, "Well, I'm gonna get my exercise on today once I go to therapy and walk that long trail from the parking lot to the building of the hospital."
Okay, use what you can.
I tell you, because I canceled my first therapy because I wasn't feeling good, and I just didn't feel up to it.
Okay.
Emotionally and physically. And then I did dread, doing that walk. I'm like, I'm not ready for even walking from that parking lot to, but I'm ready today. I'm pushing, I'm gonna push it today, and you know, and uh, just, go with my progression, and, you know, um be content where it is, and not to, I'm trying to rush myself, but I'm like, you rushing yourself, but it's nothing you can do until your body say okay.
Right, right.
All I can do is, do the therapy, and and go ahead and um well, do what I gotta do. Excuse me. And also, I just thank God for today. I thank God for just, leading me and guiding me. And I thank God because God had me praying on last night for my apostle, my pastor. I was God had me going for her, and just thanking God for her, and being that spiritual mother, that who she is, with the different hats that she wears, that she just a great support. And I'm not saying nobody else is, and I thank God for everybody that has been praying for me,
Yeah.
for the our mother of the church, and my sisters and brothers in Christ. And I'm just grateful. I'm just grateful, and I know that the prayers are going up,
Yeah.
and I'm grateful on today, and I'm content. I'm content of where I'm at.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna complain because, like I say all the time, it could be worse.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
and I always think about the homeless and the people that are so unfortunate. Like, I'm still blessed, compared to what a whole bunch of people are going through. I feel sorry for those that don't know Christ like I do or we do, and that's who we pray for, So I I just thank God that I'm on the session on today and I'm ready to hear. I'm ready to think. And thank you, Ms. Jackson, for everything.
Thank you. So good to hear you in such good spirits. I know that you shared openly with the group that you did suffer a mild stroke. And, that recovery process is not just recovery in our bodies, but even in our emotions and our mental state, and like you said, now you're getting to the point where you're like accepting my body's going to heal at the rate it's going to heal. And so, oh, that was also wonderful. Everything you're sharing on this morning. I can even hear your healthiness of heart and mind progressing through the words that you speak. So, wow, I salute you. God bless you. Thank you so much for your check-in this morning. Let's see. I also see that we have Miss Bianca on the line. Good morning, Miss Bianca. Go ahead and check in, please.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I am doing well. Oh, this morning, been up, took my walk
Everyone's
for today.
exercising.
Well, for this morning. Probably I'll take another one this afternoon. But got up and did my walk for today. I realized that when I don't walk, and to some it may just seem like, oh, she just barely walking. I'm not exerting nothing because I'm not trying to lose no weight. So I'm not trying to burn no calories. I'm not trying to do all that stuff. But
Right.
anyway, just to walk, it helps mentally.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so I was able to get up this morning and to walk for a little while. And even it brings clarity. It opens up my mind to be able to think beyond situations. Just like I was today, I'll be getting my grandson on today. It's the first time
Okay.
I'll have him by myself. This my
Okay.
my third child's son. And
Okay.
so I'll be getting him. But I realized that also there was a time where my kids was growing up and it seemed like they was the favorite of their grandparents.
Mhm.
And so I want to break that. I don't want that to come over into this generation of kids. And
Okay.
so I want to make sure that that is broken because I get my other two sons quite often. You know,
Okay.
yeah, I get them quite often. But my TJ, I have not got him yet, and so, but I don't want that form of mind or that kind of mindset to come over into my kids' generation because my kids went through that with their grandparents and their cousins and all that because they felt like my kids was the favorite grandkids. So, again, I believe that I might would have came to that regardless,
Mhm.
but I do believe that getting up, walking, and being able to think mentally helped
Okay.
me to come to that and say, you know what, let's try not to have that to be an existing thing in the family.
Okay.
So I'm grateful today and I'm excited to be on the line and excited to see what the lesson is about on today because I realize that it works if you work it. Thank you.
Hey, hey, awesome. You guys are amazing. You guys are all getting up and you're doing things. You're putting your tools in action. You're working things out for your good. And I'm hearing a lot of exercise. You guys are putting me to shame right now, but I'm hearing a lot of exercise, and using your own neurotransmitters. Again, like I say, not looking for external substances or external helps to make us feel better, external addictive, unhealthy behaviors. We're not getting that false immediate gratification stuff anymore. We're moving away from that, and we're reaching out for help. We're reaching out. We're using what's in us. We're using our neurotransmitters, our dopamine, our adrenaline, our norepinephrine. It helps us heal. I'm just loving what I'm hearing this morning. Thank you guys. Thank you. You know, there's always, like I think it was yesterday we shared in the quotation, that there's a lot of suffering, there's a lot of falling down, there's a lot of things that's happening, but there's always also a lot of getting over it. So I hear you guys, you're going through your stuff. There's some grief and loss on the line. There's some health conditions on the line. There's some emotional situations on the line. There's some family disruptions on the line, but you guys are not just stuck in that. You guys are not allowing your old compulsive behaviors to come back in, that you guys are doing something, and I'm loving it. We have a couple of others to check in. I think Miss Lorena was next. Good morning, Sister Lorena.
Good morning and God bless you.
Bless you.
I'm feeling again a little bit under the weather, you guys, so please bear with me, but I'm here. I'm alert, I'm aware, and ready to tackle this.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I love that. Might not feel my best, but I'm still in the fight. I love it. Thank you, Sister Lorena. And I think Ms. Kashara's on the line. Good morning, Ms. Kashara. Good morning. Go ahead and check in.
Good morning, all of you on this morning. Feeling a little overwhelmed, but amen. I just, I'm here. Definitely couldn't wait to get here. Almost like, where your opening is, where your outage is. Know that once you come into the knowledge of this group, that you're not going to leave the same way that you came. And I'm anticipating a bit of freedom today. I'm anticipating it, and not just anticipating, but I'm going in hoping that it'll change immediately. But nevertheless, I'm glad to be here, excited to be here, excited to hear all of the outcome of this, that, and the other, and definitely excited because I see your beautiful face and your beautiful smile.
Oh. Thank you so much, Kashara. God bless you, sweetheart. And I'm hoping the same thing, that when you guys leave this group, you don't leave the same. We're going to be talking today about some areas that we don't give attention to, how our brain works, how our brain has been rewired to our compulsive behaviors, our unhealthy behaviors, and how it affects our brain. To a small degree. We're not getting into neurological science or anything like that. I'm not a scientist of any sort. So we're going to be talking about that for a minute, but I want to share a quotation with you. And I want you to hear, so that you can tell me, what does this mean to you when you hear this quotation? It's by 17th century Dutch philosopher, Baruch Spinoza. Now, I hope I'm not doing his name any harm. Baruch Spinoza, and he's a Dutch philosopher, and he says, not to laugh, not to lament, not to judge, but to understand. What does that say to you? Not to laugh, not to lament, not to judge, but to understand. What does that mean to you? Go ahead, unmute your phone and share.
God bless you, Sister Lorena.
Hey.
Meet people right where they're at.
Woo. She's like, I got this one. I love that. Thank you, Sister Lorena. I love it. Meet people where they're at, right where they are. Anyone else? Anyone got a different feel to that in that quotation today? Not to laugh, not to lament, not to judge, but to understand. What does that mean to you?
Sister Lupe here, I would say, don't forget where you came from.
That's a good one. Oh my God. Don't forget. Don't get on that high and mighty horse. I love that. Thank you, Sister Lupe. Anyone else before we go on? All right.
And even where you are in the position that you're in, the situation or circumstance that you're in currently, that we should, whether it's us or someone else, we shouldn't judge them. We shouldn't have feelings, as Sister Lorena said. Just kind of meet an individual where they're at in their current situation, embrace them, or be embraced right where you are, and that's what I get out of that.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that. You guys are amazing. You know, absolutely. Just whether it's for myself or whether it's for others, sometimes it's just to understand. It may not be something that I'm familiar with. Even within my own self, I go through things that I'm not familiar with this feeling. I'm not familiar with this circumstance. I'm not familiar with this. But guess what? I'm just going to understand that it's a part of life. I'm going to understand it, and I'm going to know that I'm going to get through it. So I'm not going to judge myself or judge that person. I'm not going to laugh at it. I'm not going to always just cry about it, but I'm just going to simply understand it. I'm going to understand. I might not understand it, excuse me. I may not understand it, but I'm going to understand that this is a situation in life that they, or like Sister Kashara said, or myself, are going through. So what I'm going to do is embrace it. One thing that I tell my children, adult and small, is these things are teaching moments for you. You know, I have an older son that's always having money problems, and his pit are always going to be teaching moments for him. And one day when you learn the lesson, it's no longer a teaching moment, but now it's a moment of victory. It's a moment of overcoming. So we're not going to judge ourselves by the things we go through. We're not going to laugh about them. We're not going to cry about it, but we're going to understand, here I am, or here they are, and I'm going to meet you where you are, and we're going to move forward in it. So I love that. Thank you, guys. So we're going to talk about addiction. Lots of times we don't look at our unhealthy behaviors as an addiction. And I'm not labeling you. I'm not labeling you. It's up to you or some other specialist to determine whether you have an addiction or not. But I am going to pose some questions to you this morning. And you know, the questions that I ask are not necessarily yes and no, unless we're talking about self-care, because that is yes and no. But normally the questions that I ask are questions to help you think and to self-examine yourself. So we're going to talk about that, because lots of times people don't really understand what addiction is. We just look at addiction as when we see people's circumstances, when we see their homelessness, when we see their brokenness, their joblessness, when we see different areas of the consequence, we can identify the addiction. But we want to identify the addiction before it gets to that level, right? So let's take a look at this. So the simplest definition that I've read that I wanted to present to you, when we talk about addictions, compulsive behaviors, addictive behaviors, such as drug use, sex, pornography, lying, overeating, compulsive behaviors, all those things that sometimes we don't look at as addiction. But the definition that I would say is, that I would share, is that a substance, activity, or thing has control over your life. The American Medical Association, they say that it's a compulsive use of a substance or a competitive or an action resulting in physical or psychological or even social harm, and the continuation of the use or the functioning of it despite the harm. So in other words, it's something that you're addicted to, whether it's something you ingest, whether it's something that you do, whether it's a activity that you participate in, and you continue to do it despite the negative consequences. And when we talk about these unhealthy behaviors, we don't want to look at them as addiction sometimes. And you don't have to. But what I want to do is introduce to you what addiction is so that maybe we can implement some things that's going to help us break these cycles that we have begun in our lives, that some are psychological, some are social, and some are just very internally emotional. So one thing that I want us to understand, that addiction is treatable. It's treatable. There's no cure. Ooh, don't shout me down. Don't throw stones at me. It's no cure to addiction. Let's talk about substance abuse. And I'm going to be doing a teaching that I'm going to post on some platform, because families don't always understand substance abuse. You know, we look at, oh, my loved one is using, or my loved one is stuck doing this, and why don't they just stop? Don't they love their children? Don't they love their family? Aren't you happy you got this job? You got this lump sum of money. Aren't you happy about that? Your life can change, but we don't understand substance abuse. So in that, we of course understand things on the level that we can, but sometimes we label it because our end result thinking is, you know, why don't they just do better for themselves? Why don't they just stop? Well, it's the same measure when we're dealing with our unhealthy behaviors, when we're enabling people, you know, when we're dealing with anger and can't control it despite the harm that it's had, when we're dealing with pessimistic thinking, you know, those things are continuing in our heart and mind, when we can't break the addictions of nicotine use or caffeine use. So when we go through various things, sometimes we don't look at that it is affecting the same area of the brain that a person that's addicted to drugs and or alcohol is. So we're going to talk about that today. So I want to ask you some questions, of course, to see if you can identify if you have an addictive problem. So let's see, have your unhealthy behavior or drug use or whatever your compulsive behavior is, your unhealthy behavior, the reason why you're here, have that resulted in failure of fulfilling obligations, such as work, such as parenting? And I want you to take a mental note of this, because I'm gonna go on. You know, has it affected you that you can't function in your daily obligations? Have what you do, whether it's cycles of depression, is it stopping you from doing your regular life functioning? Also, have the repeated activity or your repeated continual participation in it, has it caused you to be in physical harm? You know, some people, they drink and drive. Some people, they get angry and they drive, or they take it out on their family. They put themselves in physical harm. You know, they impulsively take walks and ungodly times of the night or things like that. Has it put you in a place of physical harm? Has it also caused you legal problems? You know, do you find yourself maybe going to jail for disorderly conduct, or you find that you got DUIs, or you've had DCFS problems because of your compulsive behavior? Relationships have broken and ended in legal matters because of your unhealthy behaviors. Also, have you noticed that even though these negative consequences come about, that you find yourself continuing in the behavior anyway, as if it's a solution? I want you to go ahead, unmute your phone if any of those are true to you, and share with me. Go ahead, unmute your phone and share.
God bless you. This is Sister Lorena. At this moment in my life, no.
Okay.
However, I can recall almost all of it. Of course, not the DUI, but having an amount of substance on me. I got arrested. I was put in jail. My kids were dispersed to different places. And course, the significant others that having taken me to court because of the kids and whatnot. So a lot of painful, destructive things occurred because I did not know how to cope with things, right? My coping mechanism at the time was getting, using, drinking, driving, and of course, crossing borders without recollection of what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it caused a lot, not only on me, it caused a lot of destruction in my kids' lives because they didn't understand what was going on.
Right.
And it took me a very long time to get my thing together. So yeah, I can relate to all of those. And I could also relate to the fact that it wasn't as easy as I'm not gonna do this. It wasn't as easy as like I have to stop, and I need to stop, but just I would stop, but I didn't know how to stay stopped,
Stay
to
stopped.
maintain, the sobriety. I didn't know how to do that until about 6 years ago. So thank you for letting me share.
Wow, I salute you. Oh, you're awesome. You're awesome. I salute you, Sister Lorena. With time and consistency, we can get that life change. I love that. I love that. Thank you so much. Anyone else?
Sister Lupe here. I would say that I've had plenty destructive behaviors, and one of the most recent would probably be like my anger. But I did deal also with drugs and alcohol to escape. And now that I'm sober, I find myself having to cope with anger without escaping.
Yeah.
But I see that once you say something, you cannot take it back. The harm is done.
Yeah.
And I see the sowing of my seed, the reaping of my seed.
Yeah.
I see how it's affected my children, my marriage, myself, my family.
Mhm.
And I'm taking steps now towards changing that behavior of anger, because I notice that it's a very destructive behavior.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Sister Lupe. I salute you, sweetheart. Just identifying that this is not a good behavior for me, and the consequences that she's experienced that reiterate and reinforce the knowledge of knowing I need to do something different. So I salute you, great woman of God. Thank you so much for sharing that. Anyone else?
Yes, so my unhealthy behavior, I identified, others have identified for me as well. It's that an enabler, and that does take a toll on the health, on my mind, to emotions,
Yeah.
why, and that would cause me physical harm. That may be because of the blood pressure, So I say with that physical harm, and I'm drawing back, I don't want to feel that I don't care, but it's a way how I'm taking steps to show that I do care, and then to draw back on certain things.
Wow.
So mine is health wise.
Wow. Thank you, Miss Susu. I love that. You're taking your power back. I salute you. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. That's great. I love how she said, I've identified ways that I'm going to show that I care, but I'm drawing back on all the other stuff. And what she's doing is setting healthy boundaries. That's amazing. Anyone else? All right. So let's jump right on in. Let's look at our dependence on these behaviors. Let's look at our dependence on it. I'm gonna do some more questions from an acronym called Quit Now. Now, quit now means I gotta quit right now this enabling. I gotta quit right now. this anger. I got to quit right now. This substance abuse. I got to quit right now. Whatever it is, you got to quit. I got to quit now. I got to quit now. So the cue is you begin to know that your quantity of substances or the activity, you notice that it's rising. I'll say, at one point you were only maybe with the enabling, maybe you were only helping out just a little, but you've noticed that it's increased over a while. You've noticed your anger has increased over a while. Your shoplifting has increased over a while. Your food intake, being a recovering addict myself, many times I used to justify my overeating. Well, I don't smoke and I don't do drugs no more, so it's like, this is my pleasure, not understanding about cross addiction, not understanding about increased addiction. Addiction is no longer in drugs and alcohol because I did that work with myself, but now it's in overeating. I'm watching the scale increase and I'm wondering what's going on, and I find that emotionally, when I was going through something or even going through something now, my thought is to eat, go have a good meal, and those things I have to identify, not just the action, but I need to identify the addiction that's in play. I'm not going to get Coke anymore. I'm not going to get a drink, but I'm going to get some fried chicken. I'm going to get some Popeyes or some Louisiana, and ultimately it's affecting me and my health because my weight increases. And if your weight increases, you become at risk of diabetes, high blood pressure, kidney disease, a number of things. So we have to see where that disease of addiction is trying to come in, or our old unhealthy behaviors where they're trying to sneak back in. We got to see and not be blind. So whether you find that the quantity is increasing in this activity, or you're unable to control it once you start. Once you start, I can't control it anymore. Once I start mouthing, I love how Sister Lupe said, once those words go out, I can't retrieve them. I can't retrieve those words once they've gone out, unless they were unheard. If they're unheard, then you're safe. That's why we write things down or type up an email just to get the feelings out, but don't send the email, tear up the letter or whatnot. It was just for our grounding, for our edification. But once it go out into the hearers of another person, then we can't take that impact back. We can't take whatever damage is caused. We can't take that back. When we stretch out our arms to operate in some behaviors, we can't take that back. So now we're learning to be proactive instead of reactive, because once we start, we're unable to control our actions. Once I let it out, other things are coming out. Once I start, I'm going to stay in this realm. Once I allow depression to take on, then I can't stop it. I'm unable to stop it. That's another sign that maybe there's an addiction or a problem there. So we're talking about the increase of it, and we're talking about the inability to control it. Those are two things we're talking about. On the I, it interferes with your responsibilities in life. When you're supposed to maybe be doing homework, or you're supposed to be spending time with the kids, you were, going to take everyone to movie land, and all of a sudden, because of this unhealthy behavior that you're dealing with, it stops you from doing what it is that you need to do. You can't clean your house. You don't feel like going to work. You don't, so it interferes with life circumstances. The T is your time is heavily devoted to it. Whether it's heavily devoted to the consequences of it, it's heavily devoted to the action of it, or even the preoccupation of mind thinking about it. Sometimes we just let things stay rented in our head, and it just goes on and on and on and on. And we're devoting too much time to it. You know, I'm focusing too much on somebody else's problems. I'm focusing too much on pornography. I'm focusing too much, you know, on shopping. You know, I'm focusing too much on that. My mind is preoccupied with it. Where am I going to get some money so I can go buy these shoes? You know, where am I going to get some money to get into the club because I have a sexual addiction? You know, those sorts of things. Your time is heavily entrenched in your compulsive behavior, your unhealthy behavior, to say the least. And you need more and more and more. You find that your actions not just is building intolerance, but you find that you're doing it more. You know, it's not that it's just building intolerance where, you know, I'm helping more, but now I'm not just helping in that one person, but now I'm helping that about 5 different people. And now I'm helping them in 5 different ways. And, you know, again, we're going to reap the consequences of that. Also, other aspects of your life have been damaged because of it. Like Ms. Susu said, now my blood pressure is elevated, you know, or Sister Lorena said, you know, my kids are now experiencing effect and they don't even understand why, because it's my problem, but we bleed out on others when we don't do what we need to do. So things like that. And W, sometimes we feel a withdrawal, whether it's a physical withdrawal, whether it's an emotional withdrawal or a psychological withdrawal. We feel a difference, a discomfort in our being if we're not operating in that activity, if we're not doing that thing, if we're not eating our emotions away, we feel uncomfortable. You know, if we're not letting out our anger, then we feel in a distress. If we're not enabling, we feel uncomfortable. So what that is, those little verbs that I just said, that those are those verbs? No, they're adjectives. Those little adjectives that I said, you know, the feeling or distress is a verb. Agitated is a adjective, but this isn't a English session. But what happens is we experience some sort of feeling, some sort of emotional, psychological, or physical withdrawal when I'm not able to do it. That means my body is responding that you're not going to smoke that blunt. You're not going to have that drink. You're not going to go have sex. This is my brain has become rewired to those immediate gratifications are pleasing. So in our Quit Now acronym, have you found yourself in either 2 or more of those statements that I've made? If so, unmute your phone and share.
Wow, you know, I must have missed this class when they was giving out this information. I don't know. This is really, really new.
Good.
It's really new today. And I think I missed a couple of the letters that you gave out. But whenever I'm going through something, I do find that it interfere with doing what I really need to be doing.
Okay.
But there's a time that I dwell on something. I'm an internal person. It's always on the inside of me. And so I would dwell on it long periods of time, you know. Even if I didn't speak on it, I would dwell in it in my head and my thoughts. May talk about it to myself or whatever the situation may be, but realizing also not really doing anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
And realizing that, a whole day has passed.
Okay.
And I've got absolutely nothing done because I've let this overtake me.
Mm-hmm.
I've been dealing with this all day long. So the other things that I should have dealt with, that was really a priority, it didn't get done. It did not get done. So that also the withdrawal, I would have to agree with that also. I heard you say you know, be an emotional eater and the gain of weight.
Yeah.
But I think mine is a flip of the scale, emotional and not eating, and the scale goes down to the left. Instead, I think yours must go to the right, but mine's go to the left. Um, uh, you know, because then it's like I can't eat,
Okay.
you know, and I already have I don't know, I don't want to call it a problem, but some days I eat like a bird, and then some days whatever else is big and have a big appetite, I can eat like that too on some days.
Okay.
But I realized that when I'm stuck where I'm stuck at, that also my eating becomes an issue also, along with just it be taking a wear and tear on my body,
Mm.
period. So all of that kind of just come back to it wearing my body out.
Mhm.
It wears me out mentally. It will wear me out physically. So again, I'm really interested in these in this lesson. Again, I missed a couple other of the letters, but I'm sure I probably fit in there somewhere. I just believe I do. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome, Miss Bianca. Yes, definitely. We'll try to get the videos to you. You know, there's Miss Bianca has been with me in some previous classes, and you know, she's had opportunity to do a lot of self-examination and work on herself. You know, and when we identify some things, it's important for us to move on them. So when you hear something new, it's like, hey, it's like that. I need that. I need that. And that's the beautiful thing, you know, and understanding none of us know everything. None of us have everything that we need. So we're not going to laugh. We're not going to necessarily cry. We're not going to judge it. And we're not going to judge ourselves, definitely. But we're going to understand. We're going to understand this is something new in my life, and I want to learn how to overcome this. So thank you so much. Is there anyone else that wanted to share before we move forward? All right. So one thing that we want to identify is identifying that these compulsive or unhealthy behaviors, at the least, how they are affecting our life. But I want you to also see how they also affect us from healing. If we continue in those learned behaviors, those immediate gratifications, in that way, we find that obsession, we find that compulsiveness, or even the repetitive use or repetitive act, these things are going to prevent us from healing. I'm gonna read some things to you here, because it also, when we find ourselves operating in these things, we find that it prevents us from knowing ourselves. And if we don't know ourselves, if we're distracted on going with the flow of our compulsions, then we never really identify our true strengths, our new ways of understanding things, you know, our response to certain things. It prevents us from knowing us. And if we don't know ourselves, then we are really at a disadvantage. We can't necessarily, I hear people say, I can't help anyone unless I help myself first. And you know what? That is an amazing statement. Absolutely. And I totally agree. Well, also with that, if I don't know myself, if I don't get to know myself, if I don't get to love myself, if I don't get to understand myself, embrace myself, as Ms. Kashara said, if I don't do that, wow, what a wimpy life I get to live. Because I only get to live one life here on the earth. And guess what? I knew everything at a compulsive state, but I never knew me. I like how God says that even when you were formed in your mother's womb, he knew you. He knew you, and he knew what to ordain you. He knew what your strengths were, your weaknesses were. He knew how you would submit to his will. He knew how you would resist his will. He knew the challenges that you'd gone through. So he ordained you according to his good pleasure. But now we find he knew us. Now let's take the time to get to know ourselves. So when we operate in addiction, compulsive behaviors, unhealthy behaviors, guess what? It stops us from knowing ourselves. Also, we don't get our needs met. If I don't take the time to compassionately examine myself, instead of that harsh talk we talked about, if I don't take the time to compassionately say, you know what, what's going on with me? I've been feeling this way for 3 days now. Let me do a compassionate, thorough searching of myself to find out what my needs are. Sometimes my needs is just something as simple as I need to maybe get more rest, or I need to take care of my body. Maybe I need to remove the clutter from around me. What are my needs? We also find that it stalls our emotional development. We talk about arrested development, and what that means is somewhere in our life where these compulsive behaviors began, these unhealthy behaviors began, this addiction began, somewhere there, it diverted us from a natural maturation, a natural growth path. In other words, it arrested us from that development. You know how sometimes we go through life, boy meets girl, you know, and girl runs away, boy heartbroken, you know, boy have to learn how to get over that, or vice versa, boy, girl. And, you know, so that's a normal maturation process. You know, that's how we learn how to grow, how to overcome emotional pain, how to feel our pain and not end up doing destructive behaviors. But sometimes when our addictions or our unhealthy behaviors, when they divert us from that path of maturation, what happens is it stalls our development, arresting the development. So now I don't go through regular life circumstances. I don't experience a full childhood to learn what the childhood steps of growth are. I don't experience a whole teenagehood. And so now I'm an adult. I'm 30 something years old, 40 something, 50 something, 60 something, but I haven't gone through the proper maturation. So it stalls my development. It arrests my development. Emotionally, there's a lot of things in life. We talked about the other day, safe coping skills, because life is full of suffering, but it's also full of getting over it. Life is full of life showing up on life terms. But guess what? We can continue. We can definitely continue in our road of healthiness. We just have to learn how to deal with the current circumstance, deal with life on life terms. So whatever it is, I have to learn safe coping and not divert in unhealthy ways to get to a good expected end, but to go through. Remember, we talked about the only way to get out of it is to go through it. Any other thing is a short trick, and it's gonna bring you right back to that pain. Also, when we allow our unhealthy behaviors to lead us and guide us and continue to let them be out of control in our lives, what happens is it isolates us. It puts us in a place, and I heard most of you, even not most of you, but many of you share how these unhealthy behaviors begin to isolate you. It begin to remove you away because of the feelings that it brings, the disappointments, the consequences. Also, it keeps you from coping with your feelings. How are we going to learn how to cope with enabling, or cope with anger, or cope with sexing, or overly texting, or whatever our unhealthy behaviors are? How are we going to learn from how to cope with that if we continue in those unhealthy behaviors because they bring us some sort of immediate gratification? So we have to remember, I have to learn how to cope. This is my practice opportunity. You know, I was talking to a young lady the other day, and she was in a situation where normally she would have acted in one way, but she acknowledged, this is my opportunity to cope. This is my opportunity to practice my safe coping skills and to cope. Let me cope and not lean to my old way of immediately gratifying myself by operating in the same old behaviors. Also, when we do that, it takes away our control. when we do that, when we just lean to, let's say your unhealthy behavior is masturbating. Let's say it's having unprotected sex. Let's say it's over shopping. Let's say it's overeating, whatever it is. When we fall into our unhealthy behaviors, that has control over us. It takes away our control. We talked the other day about taking our power back. How are we going to take our power back and we're relinquishing it over to that compulsive behavior that's unhealthy? Also, sometimes it's a way of neglecting ourselves because we're not really dealing with our true needs, but we're neglecting ourselves by doing what's easy. Remember when we were talking the other day, always do what's hard for you, because that thing that's hard for you is conditioning you and taking your power back. Any statements so far on those things that when we practice our unhealthy behavior, it stops our healing process? Any comments on what you've heard? Can you identify with anything I just shared? Go ahead, unmute your phone and share.
Hi, this is Jenny.
Hey, Jenny.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I want to just elaborate on the on everything you said. First, I just want to start about the laminating and the judging. I want to say, been there, done that. I had to learn to understand.
Just to understand, yeah.
I had to learn, not to laugh
Right.
at certain things. You know, as far as coping, I the situation that I'm in now, I know that I don't have to run and take a drink, no matter what the circumstance is. I don't have to take a hit today,
Yeah.
but I'm coping with, for the past 18 years of being clean and sober, I'm coping with things, even though sometimes it comes in my mind and the thought is to escape the way that I know how.
Right, right.
No, but I'm not going to do that. I have to deal with this now. I have to be brave because I feel it's cowardly when you go use again. Not saying that, it's cowardly to me because I feel so weak after I do it.
Okay.
That's the best I can describe it. Not to down nobody of relapsing, but relapse is so, it's so hurtful, and it's so scary at the same time.
Yeah.
From so many relapses I've done. And I don't have to relapse. I have to just deal with it, cope with it, be brave about it, no matter what the outcome is. Because, for my situation right now, I'm coping with my physical. I'm coping mentally because I want to tell, when I first had the stroke, eh, I went through an emotional state of, I went through all kind of stuff, I was embarrassed also. See, now you're showing you don't take care of yourself. You're showing, you're not eating right, and you're not exercising. You're not, all kind of stuff went through my head. And I knew the enemy was playing with my mind, and for me to, basically, I asked for forgiveness. I did, tell my pastor, and I said I just wanted to roll over to the side. I just wanted to roll over and die. Just take me away if I'm gonna keep declining, because I don't want to go into a nursing home or nothing like that. But thank God it's not that situation.
Yeah.
So I'm trying. I'm trying, not even trying, as they say when, back in the days, trying is lying. And I always went by that motto: trying is lying, just do it. That's what that's what we say in the group. And so I'm not trying, I'm doing it. I'm coping with what is going on with me, as, okay, your arm is not working like you wanted to, but do what you can with it. Cope with it till it gets better. So physically, it like I said, coping physically, but emotionally I had to turn my mind around, to cope with it. And like I said the other day, work with what you got. Work with what you got. So just coping with the coping with family and friends, coping with my ordeal, so you know uh, even the point of isolation came in mind.
Yeah.
And I did a few times, at the beginning, it hasn't been that long. I'm like, okay, 3 weeks, that's long enough. Okay, let's go, let's jump, let's drive. And I'm like, I still can't do what I want to do. I
Mhm.
know I have to go through therapy to get well, but it's like I'm coping with what I have, but with the coping is getting better.
Yes.
It gets better with coping, because you have to be content too. No
Yeah.
matter what it is, I told God last night, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna be content, and I thank you, even though whatever circumstance I'm in.
Yes.
I'm not gonna complain, because what good is that gonna do for me? If
Wow.
I keep complaining and get angry like I was at first, taking it out on people or whatever, I'm hurting myself, and I might go and use.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So I don't want to go to that angry state. I don't want to go to that shouting state, that argumentative state,
Oh,
that anxiety state, because I will use. I already know.
okay.
Calm down, Lena. Like you said, Miss Jackson, I
Mhm.
had to take control of what I have.
Yes.
So well, thank you for letting me share, and thank you for letting me think about that.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. And I'm glad that you've come to some observations and some knowledge uh concerning your circumstance and some acceptance, so now you can really heal and grow. That's awesome. Anyone else?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
No, is any comments to what I've just read?
Yes.
How those behaviors, how they stop the healing process. Any comments to any of those things that I just read?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go right ahead.
Okay. Um, One of the biggest takeaways I got from 1997, I was in Acton, California, at the rehab center there. And something that even until this day, I may not remember a whole lot else, but I remember this, one big takeaway that I heard in group. It was like somebody reinvented the wheel.
Okay.
Counselor Alicia, therapist Alicia, she was a therapist. She was a counselor up there. She said abuse plus trauma equals arrested development.
Mhm.
And that hit me like a thunderbolt.
Yes.
I've never forgotten it. And I can apply it to a lot of areas of my life, as old as I am, my old self. Um, I've been through a lot of abuse in this life, a lot. And I know, even though I'm still moving right along to the best of my ability,
Mhm.
that I'm not moving as well as I should. And that's where we're at right now, where I'm at, trying to get out of that. I've been through a lot of abuse, um, different types of abuse and bullying, and people overriding my rights and overriding me in a lot of areas. But where we're at now, I'm older now, and what's kind of getting to me is that a lot of stuff I once wanted may never come your way, and it breaks my heart. And I'm expected to still carry on and pretend everything's all right. I'm tired of pretending everything's all right. It ain't all right.
Right.
It ain't all right. And sometimes I be asking people just leave me alone. I got too much stuff, my own stuff I got to deal with. Um, abuse plus trauma equals arrested development. Yes, you can get stuck
Yes.
in a state of emotional. Oh my God, I can't even say. All I can say is Jesus help me. Lord help me, help me. I owe myself. You know, I wasn't responsible for everything that I took on. Now I am responsible for my dumb stuff once I got into my teenage years. I can say that.
Okay.
But I'm responsible for pursuing my own healing. But that's something. Abuse plus trauma equals arrested development. And if anybody grabbed that particular formula that counselors gave us in group years ago, that you can see it in
Yeah.
ourselves or see it in others around us or situations and people we have to deal with that are you talking about them unhealthy behaviors. Yeah, and not taking care of yourself. Because see, it's real easy to do that, to not take care of yourself, especially when you lose hope in life. When you lose hope, only thing you hoping for, oh, let's go to heaven. That's all.
Yeah.
You know, like everything else is not good. I just want to go to heaven. And sometimes that might, but somebody said, you know, if you got to heaven and you ain't did what you're supposed to do, who you gonna sit next to? And they gave an awesome example of that. And I said, okay, so who you gonna sit next to? And like, no. I said I've been through too much here to not overcome this, to overcome that, and overcome the other. And the thing is, like, for me to break the unhealthy behaviors of not exercising, of not going to that gym where I got a membership, ain't been yet, and it's sad. It's pathetic. It's pitiful. And
there.
I want to call the police on myself sometimes. I'm telling you. Today I'm doing okay. I actually have a big, beautiful salad with me today, and I have some watermelon and blueberries. Now, last
Hey.
night I did wrong. I had big, giant ghetto burgers. But anyway, but I'm saying, like, but I'm grateful
Yes.
that because of correction, there are certain bad behaviors. I'm not going to indulge in no more because I know what that is, and I've been popped hard enough by the behavior. I've been popped hard enough spiritually that you can't go there.
Okay.
And one of the things I learned from one of my acquaintances in recovery many years ago, she said sometimes when different things, different pain comes up, she says sometimes, because like a lot of us, we want to go blot out the pain,
Right.
go do something, go do this, go do the other. She said you just got to rock with everything. So sometimes you have to ball up on the floor in the fetal position and just rock with it until it passes.
Yes.
There have been times in my life where there have been days I've gone to work, come home, and got down on the floor in that fetal position. I'm talking about days. I'm talking about days on end.
My God.
And going through something, going through grief and loss because I don't really have people that stand with me when I'm going through things. And it's okay because I don't know what it's about, but I don't know. It's like it's finally getting to a place of some type of emotional self-sufficiency. In emotional self-sufficiency, where you have to deal with your own stuff. You know, may not always have nobody to stand with you through things.
Right.
And but abuse plus trauma equals arrested development. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And that's something that's a truth that you grabbed hold to, that you remember from way back when. And these things that happen in our life, abuse and traumatic experiences and things, they do have the power to bring arrested development. This is why that is in our power, we have to remember that we have to do something about it so that we can mature. I may not can bring back the past, can't do that. The past is gone. I may not can be able to recreate some of the same situations or even be accountable for maybe some things I did in a weaker state of my life or a different state of my life. But what I do have to do is to not judge, not lament, not laugh, but to understand that was then. And because of the abnormal situations or the abnormal things that I went through, I can understand my arrested development. That's my emotional response to an abnormal situation or situations that happened in my life. So now I'm going to understand that. I'm going to meet me where I am, and I'm going to embrace me, and I'm going to move forward in being responsible. I love how she said that. It's up to me to be responsible for my own healing. No longer pretending. We know when we're pretending, when we're not. We might fool some of the people some of the time, but we don't fool God or ourselves. So we know that we do know. We know when we're not doing what we should do, or we're acting in a way that is unbecoming of us or unhealthy for us. So I love that. Thank you so much. Anyone else before we move forward?
Yes, I just want to say on that unhealthy behavior and what you're saying about not knowing yourself, which is so true, because I'm just focused on something else and I'm invited to go travel. I think I'm going to start that. I don't know if I want to travel. I don't believe I want to, but I won't know until I try.
You try, yeah.
So it will keep you from finding out about yourself. I didn't know that, I could do hair or something. I never cared about doing hair or anything, but doing the tutorials and things, putting your mind somewhere else and stuff. It'll give you something to look forward to, or you don't have to keep your mind on that problem over there. I just want to share. Yeah. Learn to know yourself. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Self-discovery. And we will never discover what's in us if we don't stop and break the cycle of these unhealthy behaviors that's keeping us in a regiment, that's keeping us in repeated behaviors, that's bringing us nothing but consequence. And we're continuing them despite the consequence. Anyone else before I move forward? All right. When we're talking about these things, we want to look at the fact that there's different ways that we can quit. Some things we just can't quit immediately. There's some things, and I'm hearing that the sound is going in and out, and I am so sorry about that. I'm going to try my best to do some work so that it's good now. Okay, thank you. We've had some instability of Wi-Fi. Yesterday was so bad that we did the video. We accomplished what we came to do. We just had to do it in a different way because of the Wi-Fi. But thank you so much. Okay, great. Thank you for your comments. Thank you. You can always put in the chat information. It'll pop up on my screen for my knowledge only. So thank you so much. But one thing that we want to realize in our last few moments is when we see these things are unhealthy to us, let's not just ignore it. Let's not ignore it. Let's do something. Now, there's a model that we talk about, and we talk about harm reduction. Now, depending on what your compulsive or unhealthy behavior is, you may have the time to modify your consequences. The danger of your behavior may not be as extreme as others, and maybe you can do something like harm reduction, whereas maybe I'm not doing this every day, but I'm monitoring that I'm cutting down on it. I'm controlling it gradually. You may say, you know what, that's for suckers. Not that it is, but you may say that's for suckers. I need this stuff out my life, and I'm going to quit at once. Like we said in our acronym, quit now. I'm going to stop the madness now. And so therefore, I'm going to hold myself accountable, and I'm going to continue calling in on this line, and I'm going to get tools necessary for change, not just I'm gonna do the whole abstinence model where I'm holding on tight to the chair. I'm not living life because I'm scared to go over here because I don't want to go back to that behavior. I'm scared to go over there because I don't want to go back to that behavior. And you're just not living your life because you're afraid that this thing is going to take control of you. Well, in steps and process, I heard someone say, if you start the process, it'll lead to progress. I love these things that you guys are sharing with me. You know, it'll lead to progress where maybe initially you may have to be at home. You may have to be in the safety of only your support. Maybe your support is not safe. So maybe the safety of your professional support, of your life coach, of your counselor, of people that you hire or use your medical benefits for. If those are your only treaters or supporters right now, great. We all start somewhere, you know. So let's identify, do we want to quit at once or do we want to gradually quit? And when we find that, when we find how we want to move on that, you know, one thing we want to do is we want to get rid of anything and everything that's going to bring us to that behavior. That's in our personal space. If you live alone, or even if you live someone else and maybe you're renting a space in their home, make sure you remove all triggers of that behavior. Let's get prepared to change. So I'm going to move the drugs out of my house. I'm going to remove the paraphernalia. I'm going to get the alcohol bottles out. I'm going to remove whatever it is that triggers me to that behavior. Things that trigger me to anger, overeating, things like that. I'm going to remove that, you know, and so then I'm going to keep my mind. One thing that we have to realize is, you know, people have strong opinions on what we do, and they, you know, give their, oh child, I remember when I stopped, when I was in pursuit of stop using drugs, I had a friend, she was older than me, I trusted her, you know, and she was an authority in my life, even though she did drugs with me. But when I got saved and I came home and I was telling my friends, you know, how, you know, I had quit drinking. I wasn't using anymore. I had broke up with my boyfriend because I didn't want to fornicate no more. And, you know, things like that. And they said, oh, you going to go crazy. You didn't quit drinking. You quit using drugs. You going to go crazy. You can't quit all that stuff at once. People have opinions. I have to remember to stay motivated in my own mind, set the messages that I need to encourage myself and motivate myself as I'm going through this process. So, you know, guys, we want to remember that this is like a trip, and we're running out of time, and we're going to talk about how we're going to prepare for that trip at another time. But today, you guys have been so amazing. I just want to be able to unmute the phone and see what have you grasped today. We find that addiction or these compulsive behaviors is a brain disorder. Don't shoot now. Don't shoot. I'm not saying no one's crazy. I'm not saying anyone is damaged goods. But remember, our brain is a part of our physical self. Whenever you hear the word neuro is related to your brain functioning. So the brain functioning over this physical body, neurophysical situations that we go through are sometimes ended in a disorder. So now what I'm doing is I'm learning how to retrain the brain. I'm doing a brain reset. I'm resetting the brain because my brain has gotten used to me responding. It's brought some gratification. That gratification releases a little bit of dopamine. Remember, dopamine is your feel-good chemical, brain chemical. That's your natural neurotransmitters. I want you to understand a lot of these functions, these behaviors that we do, they release certain amounts of your brain chemistry. And with that, we have no control over what happens up here. At night, I can't split this open and start putting what I won't wear and what I won't wear. I wouldn't know how to do that anyway. But guess what? Life has groomed my brain to its functioning. Even things that my brain interacts with. There are some things that we're going to have to learn how to walk away from. There are some things that we're going to have to learn how to recondition our way of thinking, because our brain cells and our brain interactions with our environment, with our situations, with our discomforts, with life itself, with our genetics, how our genetics is designed, all those things. We have to realize that it's going to take us some work, because this life that we've lived, these unhealthy behaviors, they didn't come overnight, guys. So we're going to have to take some time and take some compassion with ourselves so that we can get through these situations of life, reset our brain, and live healthier lives. Now, if you're up to it, I'm up to it too. I'm still a work in progress, but what I have, I want to share with you. If you're willing, then I'm willing. So we're going to continue calling into the group. We're going to continue encouraging one another. We're going to start looking how to purge out our support systems, because all support's not necessarily good support. So there may be some people that I may have to say, you know what, I'm going to maybe not throw them away, maybe not get them out of our life, but we're going to reposition them, because there's some people that we have very, very close to us that maybe amens and high fives, that compulsive behavior. Sometimes they trigger that compulsive behavior, that unhealthy behavior in us. Sometimes they kind of reiterate, when the Bible talks about how David, how he went behind the fortress, which is the strongholds, and we all have strongholds that we have to tear down, those false belief systems that have gratified us and caused us to survive all this time. Like I was sharing, overeating, eating in my emotions, that was my stronghold. This is my comfort. I don't do drugs anymore. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. I don't drink anymore. So I can eat, not knowing that unhealthy behavior was destroying me slowly, just as hitting some cocaine or smoking some PCP, just as those things, but it just had a slower process, but it had the same deadly and fatal effect. So I had to identify, I had to break down the stronghold so I could see the truth. Because remember, these things keeps us hidden. They keeps us hidden, and I don't get to know me, and I don't get to know the truth. So I stay behind the stronghold, and I'm peeping out. David, he went in the fortress, he went in the stronghold, and he took people that were in debt. He took people that were ostracized. He took people that had issues. When we stay in the realm of people that are having the same issues as us, and they're not trying to do anything about them, what that does many times is it reinforces us to stay behind the stronghold. There's women on the line. A lot of times people have said all men are dogs. And then you hook up with another friend who had a bad experience, and she says all men are dogs. And you hook up with another friend who had a bad experience that says all men are dogs. What's happening? These people are reinforcing my stronghold that all men are dogs. And what's going to happen while I'm behind the stronghold, peeping out every so often? I'm going to miss my opportunity of finding love, finding companionship, finding whatever it is, or being found, because I'm behind a stronghold that I have built to protect myself. That's not necessarily a good stronghold. It's not truth. It's just a temporary, immediate gratification. So what we're doing today, we're going to find ways to destroy those strongholds, that old way of thinking, so that we can change the old way of doing. Remember, thoughts become things. Whatsoever a man thinketh, so is he. It becomes who you are. It becomes your destiny, your habits, the words that you speak. It becomes your reputation. It becomes. So definitely, before we get off the line, I want to ask any questions, comments, or statements.
One of the things I found, and I was just thinking about it, and I was thinking about it last night. And I have a tendency, I'm noticing now, that one of my coping skills or coping mechanisms, I don't know how healthy it is, I have a tendency to just totally shut down.
Okay.
I have a tendency to just shut down and sit with my stuff by myself. Sometimes I reach out, but people aren't necessarily always available. So I just I kind of been shutting down lately. I have a tendency to shut down.
Mhm.
I just have a tendency to shut down because it's like, what you gonna do? You gotta keep going. You gotta keep going. And what you gonna do about how you feel? And my answer to that was go sit down somewhere and just shut down. Just shut down.
How was the outcome of that?
It's probably taking a toll on my health. It is probably taking a toll on my health, and I know that. And I don't have no healthy outlets right now. I don't have no healthy outlets. Like, okay, some of the things, like sometimes I used to do, give you an example. Every night, I didn't go that often, but I used to celebrate birthdays at karaoke. And one of the things that happened during the pandemic, God said, no more karaoke for you.
Okay.
And it's like, oh, well, yeah, that's gone. Like, oh, the road gets narrower. You
The
know,
look is narrow.
it's like, okay, what we gonna do now? I don't know. I don't know. That was kind of like one of my musical outlets, you know. I love music. It's one of my musical outlets. Um, I don't know. Like the road gets narrow. Seems like the options get fewer, but especially when your money funny.
Yeah.
I've been I'm dealing with a lot of stuff right now, and I've been on shutdown mode, and I'm not trying to put my load on nobody else's shoulders because sometimes I feel like that turns into gossip land. I don't do gossip land.
Mhm.
I do not do the gossip land. But I have a feeling it's probably taking its toll on my health. It's probably taking its toll on my health, and I got to find an outlet and do something about that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I love the fact, like you said, you do reach out when you can, and accepting that the truth is people not always available when you need them. But then now what? Like you said, you have something that you do, which is shut down, but the outcome of that maybe is not so good for your health. So we're gonna label that, if we must, that I need an alternative. I need another way to help me through my issues, to help me through my moments. So maybe maybe if you can, the rest of the day, maybe you can maybe kind of think and identify some things that you can do. Reaching out is one. Maybe you can broaden your support system, even if it's just people that are professionals in your life, treaters in your life. I don't know if you subscribe to possibly a therapist, someone that you can talk to on a scheduled basis, or a life coach, or your pastors, maybe some of the brothers or sisters that maybe you trust, in your realm, family members, even sometimes in other circles of support. You can tell certain things. I understand you may not have a person that you can just pour out everything, but at least have maybe some circles of maybe some categorized jars or departments of people that, well, I can at least share this, because at least it'll reduce my harm. It'll light my load. It may not satisfy everything, of course, but it'll help. So maybe you could think about some ways that you can, some more outlets. I heard you say you didn't have many outlets, maybe kind of identify some other outlets for yourself, because you're worth it. You're worth it. And if that's not working for you, shutting down by yourself, then isolation is not good. We're going to find something else. And there's something else to be found. And I thank you so much for sharing that today. Is there anyone else before we close out today?
Just want to say, I've been quiet throughout the whole um, group on today because I took a lot in, just hearing the different things that people go through um, on a daily basis, even how the old things tries to resonate back up, you know, just everything, just hearing, that you're not in it alone. You're not the only one that is going through. You're not the only one that feels some type of way. You're not the only one that have to shed tears. You're not the only one, and somebody else is going through. But the good thing about them going through is knowing that everything you go through, it has to be an outage. Everything has an expiration time.
Yes.
Even in the midst of being healed and being conditioned and therapy and being going through the therapy of it, there's got to be an outcome. Once you get the gist of the therapy and begin to take it all in mentally. I heard you speak a lot about neural, the mind, and the mind is a terrible thing to waste. Our mind can bring total destruction in our lives, but because of the therapy that we're getting, even now, it regulates those negative things in us. And it brings a positive mind to know that what you've been through, that is not who you are.
That's right.
What you're coming out is where you've been, and know that the outcome is greater than anything that you've been through, been in, and know that it don't last always.
Yes.
We are the position of coming out. We are the production of our today, not of our yesterday.
Yes.
I took it all in today, and I had thoughts every time I try to get in. Somebody else will speak. I thought about the man at the pool of Bethesda. I thought about him, but at the end of the day, my blessing today in group was to hear everything that those that are here today have gone through, and knowing that their situation was similar to mine, but how they begin to speak on it, and knowing that everything that we've been through, and some yet going through, that there is an outcome. We are our own outage. We have to just condition our minds to come out, whatever we can do to help ourselves. Whatever, talking about it is the first thing. And know this, I'm gonna say this real quick, know this, we can't always talk to everybody.
Right.
But we have someone that we can talk to. And most of all, that'll never disperse anything that we discuss. And I have to say, he's first and foremost, and that's God. He's the one that keeps our mind. And I'm so grateful for the group today, and thank each and every one of you for sharing, because I was blessed on today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kashara. We're so glad that you were blessed today. And I hope that everyone else was too. We're just going to keep moving forward in our life change. And that's what this beautiful thing God gave us is called. It's called life. And life don't always come smooth. It don't always come understandably, but it does come. And we know that with coping, then we can cope to that next situation, that next destiny point, that next step. So, hey guys, our time is up. Thank you so much for your participation today. You guys are an amazing set of people. I definitely salute you all. I love you. You guys are overcomers. You're triumphers in Christ Jesus. And I just thank God that you're here and that you're taking what you need and you're moving forward. So until tomorrow, guys, we're going to conclude. And you know what I say, live free. That's why we're here. Let's live free. God bless you all. Have a blessed and prosperous day.